Hello everyone, this is GoOdy giving you a shoutcast and another game between ESC GoOdy versus Todd here in the Delta Quadrant. GoOdy spawning as the purple Terran player at the 5 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Millennium Todd spawning as the blue Protoss. So Protoss versus Terran here in the Delta Quadrant. A map that generally favors Terran style of play. The ramps are relatively close to each other, and just because the way that this map is situated, there is a lot of dead space here on this map, so the mineral locations are not actually in the very far corners as you've seen in the more recent set of ladder maps that was released by Blizzard. And because of that, the walking distances and early aggression by Marines and Marauders still can pay off wonderfully here. Now, I believe Todd is actually talking, saying there's a little bit of lag in the game. Anyways, GoOdy's still continuing to mine, throwing up the production tab. You can see pretty much standard builds coming in from both players. Nothing too out of the ordinary. 9 pylon, 10 depot, 11 racks, not a 12 rack, so 11 racks. Opting to go for the racks before going for this SCV here. We do have a gateway now coming in from Todd, so Todd is going to be a little bit behind in terms of any early aggression, and we'll see if early aggression pays off this time around. GoOdy will quickly be scouted by Todd's probe in just a minute. The probe will be able to, or is going to enter inside the base and try to harass that SCV. Is the SCV on the far side? But yes, the SCV is on this side and is going to start taking some damage from that probe immediately, but able to now move away. And as long as that SCV dances around this location, it works out pretty well. And so the SCV does move a couple times. A Marine will now be trained, upgrade to an orbital command already, and that probe gonna try to get some damage, perhaps on the supply depot, but not much will be dealt at all. Interesting point of reference, or a point to note: buildings as they're being built don't have armor. So I just took a look at the barracks. The barracks took 5 damage from Peppy the probe's little, I believe, what is that, particle beam. So yeah, he took even though the barracks naturally has a natural 1 armor, while it's being built, it has no armor. So that is important, especially against the Terran, where Terran can actually go for that thicker Terran building armor, where it's natural 3 armor. While it's being built, it is still easily destroyed. Probe will now be able to come up this ramp, sees the SCV, and now GoOdy just going to sit there as now a Zealot is currently being trained, or already trained out by Todd. We now quickly see a Stalker coming out. The Stalker is going to be chrono boosted. So my guess at this point is, it's going to be two SCVs coming off the mineral line. Is this SCV at full life? Yes, GoOdy's SCV, scouting SCV, is at full life. So those 2 SCVs, plus a Marine, a Marauder, and now another Marauder to bring up the rear, should be able to get some damage. I don't know why GoOdy left that SCV behind. By the time that SCV engages, Marauder going to try to walk up that ramp, try to see if it can scout any information. There are Zealot and Stalker trying to take down these destructible rocks already, and that's going to be bad, as another early probe going to get lost there. So 1 SCV now trying to make their way out. This is going to be a problem, especially as those units and back over here need to walk the distance. And now this pylon already taking some damage, already down to 165 hit points, and now needs to pull away. 2 probes coming off the mineral line as well. Both sides engaging, and now a new Marauder coming in as well. So the probes going straight after the Marine, and the Marines have now already been taken down. So the Zealot's going after the Stalker instead, but the Zealot getting a quick and easy shot there. There is another Marauder over there, and maybe able to take down that last Stalker. No, the Stalker down to 3 hit points, able to run away from the fusion cutter of that 1 SCV and not get killed. So nicely done by Todd. So Todd barely winning out in that exchange of units so far, and now with an additional Stalker joining in on that fight, GoOdy realizes that he cannot really get any more mileage out of his harassment, and he will be transitioning. He is now going into a factory. He does have a refinery coming into play, and normally this means to me that, especially on Delta Quadrant, that he wants to try to go for Banshees. Banshees are a very viable option, just because they are able to hide out in the dead space over here where no ground units can get them. Most Protoss players cannot go both Robotics Facility and Stargate at the same time, so they either can get a Phoenix in order to shoot down the Banshee, or an Observer to see it. And it looks like Todd opting to go the Observer route, as a cloaked Banshee is very, very deadly inside a base. Back over here, you can see that the rocks have been cleared and Nexus will be warped in. Production wise, you do see that the starport is currently being built right next to the tech lab by that factory. and a little bit of lift off magic, and you will have a fresh Banshee and being trained, and as long as we can get enough gas. So GoOdy continuing to mine away. Not much you can really do playing off of one base play. We do have another command center here and a Marauder and doing a good job. The reason why this Marauder is positioned on the far side here is that it can spot a pylon if it tries to be warped in this location. A lot of the times Protoss players can place a pylon here and then warp in units, and then by warping in units you can get a very large army already inside your base without you even realizing or noticing. The Marauder, however, going to take its sweet time trying to destroy these rocks. Rocks have, what, a natural 3 armor, and reducing the amount of damage that the Marauder does by about 15, or exactly 15%. Back here, the Nexus is nearing completion. Another pylon will be warped in, and now we see a robotics facility and double training observers. So it constantly feels like GoOdy has been one step behind now. Todd was able to react and respond pretty well to the early aggression of Marauder, SCV, SCV. There is now a Siege Tank joining in, and now also a Viking, so going for Siege Tech instead. And all of this based off of one base play. This one observer now is now going to be wandering around on the inside of the base. He has to be careful, as that Viking should be able to spot it. No, should be able to shoot it down if that he flew close enough to that missile turret. And perhaps another missile turret should be placed down in order to just shut down that one observer there, as the command center has been completed, will be lifting off, coming into this location. And now Todd, did he see that earlier missile turret? No, he did not see the missile turret earlier, and is just going to position himself there. Todd currently has, yes, a sizable mining advantage at 41 harvesters compared to 30, and now Todd opting to take up a third base by destroying these sets of destructible rocks. And SCV, however, going to quickly see that there are some stalkers and some sentries there. It did take some damage, and now most likely Todd knows that there is going to be an expansion at the gold mineral location. We'll see if GoOdy can make Todd pay for trying to expand that aggressively here in the Delta Quadrant. Observer now trying to make its way in, and it's going to be having a very, very bad day. Oh, able to spot the missile turret in time and not lose that observer. So, however, unable to spot that missile turret, and down it goes. So there are now a decent missile turret coverage by GoOdy inside his base. No observers to be had or to be found. And now we are going into the Infernal Pre-Igniter research. Also getting the extended thermal lance range by Millennium Todd, and now quickly gonna go ahead and pick up a couple of those stalkers. What he can do here is he can pick up the stalkers and start shooting from this high ground, and then use that warp prism to actually warp in units on that low ground. And there is also a Colossus there. The Colossus could just simply walk up and just start firing at that missile turret, but as soon as that Colossus is revealed, the missile turret can shoot back, so that's the reason why he doesn't want to do that. Stalker's now going to just quickly shut down this one missile turret here. Yeah, you can see that the missile turret was able to shoot at that Colossus, but now Stalker's up on that high ground. It should just be able to walk up and down, perhaps get some damage onto that orbital command, force him to stop mining. Siege Tanks and Vikings now coming in to join in on that fight. Siege Tanks going to siege up, and now those Stalkers are going to take a punishing beating from those Siege Tanks. 2 Siege Tanks, oh, now down finally it goes. SCVs are going to start mining once again, but has to be very, very careful as there's still a decent number of Stalkers. I don't think GoOdy realized how many Stalkers were up there on that ramp, as the Siege Tanks are slowly going to stair-step their way forward, trying to push into this location. I believe that poor turret is going to get shut down in just a moment. Vikings now going after that Colossus. Colossus quickly being picked up. So what is going to happen to those Stalkers? The Stalkers now going to get picked up, and now have to be very careful. That warp prism may get shot down before the Stalkers are able to come out of that, and that final warp prism has been taken down. None of the Vikings have been lost, and now 2 Vikings here, 1 Viking on that ground mode, perhaps going to try to engage against that Stalker with a range of 6, has equal firing distance, and perhaps can kite back that one Stalker. That Viking needs to pull back though, otherwise he's just going to sacrifice himself. There he goes, finally getting shot down by that Siege Tank. You can see that Todd now establishing his third base, sitting at 53 probes, and he's going to have an even larger economic advantage. The longer this game goes right now, the better it is going to be for Todd, as I don't see a solid strategy yet coming in from GoOdy. GoOdy does have a starport now, getting a reactor, so he looks like he's trying to go for very heavy mech, Siege Tank, Hellions, and Vikings. This is a strategy that I've wanted to try for quite some time. And if you look at the army size, it's now 2250 versus 2150. Both sides battling it out, and now Marauders fighting back over here. That one supply depot will burn to a crisp. Down it goes. And now the units may be able to just simply walk in or walk through in just a second. I believe the extended thermal lance range has been completed. So yes, at a range of 9, the Marauders can start knocking on this front door, and there's not much GoOdy can do in order to counter it, except for Vikings and siege tanks. Those siege tanks with a range of 13 in siege mode, Viking also with a range of 9, but in the air, so the Colossus cannot shoot them down. GoOdy now going to establish this expansion here in just a moment. Start mining out of this location, get more minerals, and then try to move out. So siege tanks, Marauders, Marines, Vikings, and Medevacs doing a great job here. Gonna try to move out. We also see a lot of Colossus here. So these Colossus, Zealots, and Sentries going to try to slowly push out, and a lot of Immortals making their way out as well. So Immortals joining in on the combination, and Todd just having a very nice unit combination. In addition, he's going to be adding, Templar Archives, which most likely means Psystorm, into the army mix as well. Todd, as soon as he gets Psystorm, it's going to be very difficult for GoOdy to really do anything to fight back, even when using mech. Siege tanks are not mobile, so they essentially take the full amount of damage from those units, or from that Psystorm. I believe 2 to 3 Psystorm is enough to destroy them. 1 softens them up pretty nicely when you consider the amount of damage. Softens up pretty nicely as Zealots are able to use that Zealot charge and get within that 0 distance. Hellions now trying to make their way across the map. The Hellions do have the Infernal Pre-Igniter research, and now looking for additional expansions. It looks like they're just on auto move, and they're not even on move and attack. They should probably be trying to go move and attack, and there's some pylons, and accidentally revealed himself. Has to be careful. In comes a couple of Stalkers. 2 photon cannons already in place. Those Hellions need to get some damage onto those probes, and nicely toasted. A lot of those probes there, perhaps 4 to 6 probes, and losing 2 Hellions in the process. Not a good exchange, but at least he was able to get some damage into the economy and trying to even it up there. So now 71 SCVs compared to 71 probes. Both sides continuing to battle it out, trying to get a stronger economic lead. Another command center now being placed down. Siege tanks that are 1-0 upgraded are going to be able to perhaps deal a lot of damage back towards these Colossus and those Zealots there. One poor Marine trying to make its way out to the Zonaga Watchtower quickly gets shot in the face, and now just leaving his burning corpse there to be elevated into the smoky vents of space. Back here, Zealot now making its way out, going to do a little bit of scouting. He sees that there is no additional expansion between these 2 locations. There is, however, a Thor down over here. The Thor should be able to shut down this destructible rocks very, very easily, allowing room for the command center in just a moment. But another Nexus being placed down by Todd, and now also getting the level 3 weapons upgrade. And late game, I think that Protoss has just such a large advantage, especially with the amulet and with the extended thermal lance range, that trying to get any serious damage out, or trying to deal any serious damage, blow for blow, trying to trade armies, the Protoss army generally just wins out, as there's not much that the Terran army can do. You can try to use EMP Shockwave, but EMP Shockwave versus Psystorm, you also want to make sure that you don't overinvest in Ghosts. It's difficult to overinvest in the High Templar just because High Templars can actually kill a decent number of units, but the Vikings not making their way in, going to shut down many of those Colossus, and another Colossus has been taken down. So 2 Colossus down, only 2 Colossi down, only 1 Colossus is left. And as that Colossus sits there mourning the loss of his 2 twin brothers, and Todd needs to get out those High Templars, otherwise he will not be able to counter that army. And where is that Templar Archives? Templar Archives is right here. Psystorm research has already been completed, and warping in High Templars before the research was completed, and that was a complete waste there. So those High Templar now are going to be completely without enough energy to Psystorm, and now in comes Immortals, though Immortals now trying to make their way up this ramp over here, doing a 2-prong attack, firing on both sides. High Templars, not enough energy to Psystorm, so that was just a complete waste there. But the Immortals are still going to be more than adequate in softening up this army here. So the Immortals are still continuing the charge. Hellions trying to fight back. SCVs coming off the mineral line. These High Templars should finally be able to get some Psystorm off in just a moment, but it doesn't even matter. Didn't even bother to use that many Psystorms and was able to take the game. So GoOdy losing 2-0 to Todd. First game on Metalopolis, second game here in the Delta Quadrant. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.